Walk with me.
Do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O you sons of men? Yea, in heart you work wickedness. Yea, weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb, and they go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of serpents, and they are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God. In their mouths break out the great teeth of the young lions, O I am. Let them melt away as water which run continually, when he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows. Let them be as cut in pieces. As a snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away, like an untimely birth of a woman, that they may not see the sun. Excuse me. Before your pots can feel the thorns. He shall take them away as with a whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that a man shall say, verily, there is reward for the righteous. Verily, he is a God that judges the earth. Yes, all praises to the Most High from Psalms chapter 58. Yes, Psalms chapter 58. Deliver me from the hands of the wicked who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou and my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on this platform and other shared platforms, we thank God for you. I am Mr. Clay, and walk with me. Yes, we're in the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher, and that would be, we ended with 49, chapter 49, and now we should be in chapter 40. I'm reading way in chapter 52. That's what I do in the evenings. Sometimes when I'm just sitting there, just doing nothing, just read. Call on the name of the Most High, for he is worthy. We're in chapter 50 and verse 1. Chapter 50 and verse 1. Yes, we've read before. And also, not to forget, we thank God with the hand clap of praise. Those of you who have been with us since the beginning, and we thank God for those of you who have come thereafter and here and there's about. And we thank God for those of you who have just subscribed, and also those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises to God for you. Yes, and those that would pick this up and begin to follow, like, share. What was that? Punch that heart right there that you see. Yes. Punch that heart or punch that like button. That would surely help. As many of the content creators say, that would help as far as it getting to you and the platform seeing that people are there and that they would put it on the FYP or on the regular feed. Yes. Now in verse 50, Jasher Chapter 50, verse 1. And at that time the children of Tarshish came against the sons of Ishmael and made war with them. And the children of Tarshish spoiled Ishmaelites for a long time. In other words, they were warring. Now here's Joseph. He's in his 30s, and he's been anointed second as far as the leadership of Egypt. I mean, the most vast, it's just like being, at one time, it was Rome, Babylon, Russia. Well, the United States on its way out, but either way, should I say Russia, China, very vast empires, very great empires. Their world, for many, was that world that they see at that time. Now, Ishmaelites were fighting. You have Paul of Tarshish. Let's research that a little bit. Tarshish. And they spoiled the Ishmaelites. In other words, keeping them subdued. They kept them down. They kept them subdued. And verse 2, and the children of Ishmael were small in number in those days, and they could not prevail over the children of Tarshish. And they were sorely oppressed. And the old men of the Ishmaelites sent a record to the king of Egypt, saying, send, I pray thee, to thy servants, officers, and hosts to help us to fight. Now, Egypt wasn't prophesied against at this time. They wasn't prophesied for their behaviors, idolatrous behaviors, because they knew what the Most High had commanded all those of the children of Noah, and it was spread, and they knew, they had some inkling about it. The God of the universe, the God of Noah, even Adam, they knew these things. Don't get it backwards. So you have those today would try to push that aside, or it never been written, or you might have had the Arabs that had taken over and changed the doctrine. Who knows? And the children of Ishmael were small in number in those days, and they would not prevail over the children of Tarshish. And they were sorely oppressed. Now, these are the cousins of Joseph. They're really cousins. All of them are cousins, to tell you the truth. And the old men of the Ishmaelites sent a record to the king of Egypt, saying, send, I pray thee, unto thy servants officers and hosts to help us to fight against the children of Tarshish, for we have been consuming away for a long time. Now, it's just like dealing with the countries of Africa. Many of them see that they cannot prevail against the colonizers or the Arabs and those who would come against them, so they ask for help. In this case, it was Russia and China in certain events. As far as infrastructure, yeah, but Russia as far as militarily. They said, hey, we're small in number. We don't have the nukes they have. We don't have the big guns they have. But we do need help, and we will help you. We will give you what you ask if you just help us against these people. Now, this is how this is coming. This is not just an isolated event in time. And the children of Ishmael were small in number in those days. Now, verse 3, and the old men of the Ishmaelites sent a record, saying, come help us. Now, we're going to go back to verse 4, because we read all that. And Pharaoh sent Joseph. He was the second in command. He's going to send one almost like himself, with the mighty men hosts which were with him, and all those also his mighty men from the king's house. And they went to the land of Havilah. Yes, it's not far. Now see, if they took a mighty company with them, and they couldn't go all the way down to what you would call it, down to South Africa. That's a long way for a vast army and no mobility, no ships. See, you would have to take ships to get speedily down to South Africa, even to Kenya. You'd have to go down. You'd have to go all the way down the Red Sea, and then you make that right turn on land to get to Kenya. For those of you who says that Ethiopia the same way, but Havilah wasn't far. This was the land of Canaan they were in. Now, according to this narrative, we'll put it that way. If you believe that these things are so, then you need to throw that Bible or those books, holy books that you have away, because they've been tortured, tainted, or whatever. If you think that Israel is not in the land that it sets right now, you need to throw that Bible away, because it's just telling you a bunch of lies. You need to just get rid of it. Don't believe God. Don't believe nothing. Just throw it away. If you believe it's in America, throw it away. There is no godly route at all that these events could happen in such places. So apparently you're following a pipe dream and not listening, and you don't see the left or the right. When the straight and narrow way might go left and then turn into a pipe dream, or one narrow path. Just throw your Bibles away, throw your books, throw everything away. You got this book, throw it away, because you just lost yourself. I used to think that myself at one time. Now let's continue. And it says, now, And the children, I'm in verse 5. It says, then the children of Ishmael fought with the children of Tarshish. And Joseph smote the Tarshishites. And he subdued all their lands, and the children of Ishmael dwelt therein unto this day. Okay, they smote them. And when the land of the Tarshish was subdued, all the Tarshishites ran away. I mean, you had Egypt still had a vast army. It wasn't all Egyptians. It had other people there too. Just like any other country. They had people come in there to settle. Yes. But the fact is that the Egyptians were a people unto themselves. Although they had other people to do their fighting, their bidding, their servitude, and all this other stuff to become citizens. Very thriving communities. Yes, they were. And the Tarshishites ran away and came on the border of their brethren, the children of Javan. And Joseph, with all his mighty men and hosts, returned to Egypt, not one man of them missing. See, God, he wanted to get rid of Canaan anyway, because their grandfather went to they occupied the wrong land. They could have get anywhere going west of Egypt or and south. That was the land of Ham, but they chose to go east and try to take over. They took over the land of Canaan. See, God already knew what he's going to do. This is divine. This is not like the colonizer today. Their God was the Pope, and the Pope made an edict. It's written in the book of the Discoverers by Daniel Borenstein. He made an edict and he quoted it out. The world is his. He's God. That's what he's basically was saying. If you have that book, look it over. You're going to find out that this is who he thought he was, because today some of you that are Christians think Jesus is God. And so if he's the vicar of the Christ, then therefore he has to be instead of God on earth. This is how that worked. And these people were deceived. They weren't offered to read the Bible at all. And they took that to say, hey, if he says so, then it's so. We have the authority of the one who stands in the stead of God on earth. And this is how all this happened. Other than the Arabs who didn't believe that such thing, but they believed in Muhammad, and they practice those things, is that anybody that doesn't believe God is an infidel, and they should take it over and force them to believe. This is how these things have happened. So you have to read other religions and other doctrines in order to understand why things are so these days. And why did God even allow this to be? Then you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Not just this, it's other scriptures before that tells you the same thing. Now, let us continue. We're in verse 6. We're going to complete verse 6. And when the land of Tarshish was subdued, all the Tarshishites ran away and came on the border of their brethren, the children of Javan. And Joseph, with all his mighty men and hosts, returned to Egypt, not one man of them missing. At the revolution of the year, the turn of the year, in the second year of Joseph's reigning over Egypt, the I Am gave plenty throughout the land for 7 years, as Joseph has spoken for the I Am. Blessed all the produce of the earth. And in those days for 7 years, they ate and were greatly satisfied. Ooh, ain't that God? Because Joseph didn't listen. I mean, the king of Egypt did not listen to the spirits that would sway his mind. But he knew that what Joseph had told him was sound, so there was nothing of the mages or the demons that would come to him and tell him different things, for he knew that in order for him to thrive, his people has to thrive. See, this is where you African and other leaders in some of these major countries have faltered. When your people don't thrive, you're not going to thrive. Major corporations, when your people don't thrive, you're not going to thrive. Your corporation is not going to thrive. I don't care how many lands you have and all, you're not going to thrive. When you deny people jobs and you make things all messed up and you're sitting up there killing your labor and all this other stuff, you're not going to thrive. It's going to become the home just like Rome. They fell from within and people escaped. Just like people are escaping now, they're going to Africa, EU, Australia, different places to live in order to prepare for this time of the fall of the U.S. It's what they're preparing for. You look at the airplanes, where are people going? It's not people of color because we about broke anyway, but the fact is all these other nations, other people, Europeans and all these other folks, they're getting on the planes and they're going not just vacation, they're vacating. Cities gone waste and no one living there. And then you got all these banks and everything raising their service fees and their check fees and raising up their ceilings and everything, trying to make those that they service even more poor. Now, let's continue. And verse 8, and Joseph at that time had officers under him, and they collected all the food and of the good years and heaped corn year by year. And they placed it in the treasuries of Joseph. And at any time when they gathered the food, Joseph commanded that they should bring the corn in the ears. Also bring it with some of the soil of the field, that it should not spoil. And Joseph did according to this year by year. He just heaped it up. And he heaped up corn like the sand of the sea, for abundance, for his stores were immense. Now he had mixed this with the soil that the stuff was growing in, so therefore it wouldn't spoil. Apparently this was shown to him by the Most High, and could not be numbered for abundance, because you got water to wash the stuff off. Doesn't matter how much dirt is in it, as long as there ain't no chemicals. That's the whole thing. And also all the inhabitants of Egypt gathered all sorts of food in their stores in great abundance during the 7 years, but they did not do unto it as Joseph did. Now, and all the food which Joseph and the Egyptians had gathered during the 7 years of plenty was secured for the land in stores for the 7 years of famine, for the support of the whole land. Now the inhabitants of Egypt filled each man his store and his concealed place with corn to be for supporting during the famine. And Joseph placed all the food that he had gathered in the cities of Egypt, and he closed all the stores and placed sentinels over them. Now there are some places, even here in the United States, you have these underground reefers, or should I say refrigerators. They're guarded by guards. Yes, you have them in different places. You know, as a former trucker, I've seen a lot of them. You have to go deliver loads to these places that they might store them. Now, there are storehouses here in the United States. They do have it. It's just not the farmers, it's the government and major corporations that are being financed by the government. Yes, that's who pays for this stuff, you. But anyway, regardless. Verse 15, and Joseph's wife, Osnath, the daughter of Potiphar, bare him 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Joseph was 34 years old when he begot them, still a young man. And the lads grew up, and they went in his ways and in his instructions, and did not deviate from the way which their father taught them, either to the right or left. In other words, they knew the I am. They knew of him. But they could not really go against the ways of the Egyptian mages and the idolatry that was there. And the I am was with the lads, and they grew up and had understanding and skill in all wisdom and in all the affairs of the government, and all the king's officers and these great men of the inhabitants of Egypt exalted the lads. In other words, they were of a royal stock. And they were brought up amongst the kings of Egypt. You got to realize their father, even Jacob, was a king. Every one of the lines of these from Abraham unto Jacob, they were kings. Now, don't let them get you wrong, talking about they were village leader or the chief or whatever. They're kings. The same thing when you go to Africa, and you still got a village chief. That chief is in charge of that whole village, and they pay homage to him. He's a king. See, you have to realize colonizers make things, try to twist it to make you seem smaller than what you are. But I don't care. You're the king of even your own house. You're a king. Especially if your house gets to the point where you have 5 and 6 wives, and then you have 5 children of each. You're talking about 27 children, and then they have children, and then they're still living in the same village. You're a king. Let's get it right. See, now we have to redo our thinking in this day and time. Now that those of you are awake, you have to redo your thinking. You have to redo your thinking of what is riches, what is poverty, what is blessing, and what is curse, based on the book. What is riches? Riches for some is to have cows, plenty of cows and chickens, and people taking care of them, as we read here throughout the scriptures. What is poverty? Poverty is just like this, going through famine and having no crops and having no cattle. It's not money, not so to speak, because what if money was no good? If you don't have a cow or a sheep to trade for my cow, I don't want your money. I can't eat that. This is how some of them thought as far as riches is concerned. Cows. Okay, you made a basket. You give me 500 baskets, I'll give you a goat. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, you say bartering. That's what the English word is for, bartering. See, money, this is where the middleman gets in there, even the government, money. That's the middleman. Now, and many times in the world, the government is not for the people. Some governments are. There's one major government that even makes sure he brings the poverty of the poorest to the line where he can compete in the world. But not so in the Western countries. No. Kick you out on the street, and then if you're sitting on the street, it'll put you in jail. But then you benefit because you get a meal, you're not starving. But then you have to fend for your life because everybody's out for you, either to molest you or just to show that they are big and bad and all these other things. These things happen. Now, let us continue. Now, verse 19, let's go again. And all the people of Egypt saw that the famine had commenced, and in the land of Egypt, all the people of Egypt opened their stores of corn, for the famine prevailed over them. Yes. Now, you say now, here it is, you got, lady, you got your makeup, you got your little body and all this, but now you find out the man doesn't have the money that you want to meet your luxurious deals. Here you is in the United States, and the whole narrative here is about to change to where every man is trying to sit up there and grow his crops and grow and have a place to stay. He's trying to grow food to eat daily. But you saying, hey, I need lipstick, I need my hair done. You're going to be a lonely, lost, starving little 304. You know that? That's what you're going to be. Don't want to work, don't want to cook, don't want to do nothing. See, these are the things that have happened back in the past. Now you get the era of convenience. That's about to be a thing of the past too, as far as here in the United States. I mean, those over on the continent and China and different places, they already know these things. Technology is not going to prevail when food is needed. I don't care about no glasses or no dresses or shirts or pants or whatever. When I got to eat, forget that. And if I'm out there in the field working my butt off trying to make sure we eat every day, woman, you're going to get in that kitchen and you're going to cook. Or you're going to get out. Or I'm leaving and find me someone else that's a nail in a sure place. In other words, got the house held down. So a house is held by tent pegs. See, this is what the Bible is talking about. The tent pegs are called nails. The English name them nails, trying to throw you off, dodge the hijack. Now you got a lazy person in your house, and they're doing nothing, being nothing but a weight, even if it's your own wife or husband. It's time to just see ya, because the house is about to fall, because somebody's dragging it down. Now, in verse 19, let's continue. And all the people of Egypt saw that the famine had commenced in the land of Egypt, and all the people of Egypt opened their stores of corn. The famine prevailed over them, and they found out all the food that was in their stores full of vermin and not fit to eat. And the famine prevailed throughout the land, and all the inhabitants of Egypt came and cried before Pharaoh, and the famine was very heavy upon them. Now, if you got a warehouse or a place where you store your food, the worst thing you're gonna have is rats. You know, one thing a lot of smokehouses use, that's why you got that peppery smell in your smoked goods. And they call it peppered bacon. I don't eat the stuff, but that's what they call it. But all it is just the smell of the pepper has gotten into the smoke. And it's the same thing if you have a warehouse or anything. If you just take pepper and just put it all around the edges of your establishment, you're going to find out rats hate pepper. They will not come near that place unless they got so bad that they just couldn't take it no more and they had to get in there. Then they would die at that point. Pepper. Get rid of all kind of rats. Don't kill the snakes around there. Don't kill the birds, and you'll have your rat problem all controlled. Even if in your house or your apartment you have a rat problem, just open up cans of pepper or put it in a sock or something and put it around your house. I mean, you won't be able to stand it, but still, the rats won't either. Come on now. It says now, and they found all the food that was in their stores full of vermin. Okay, now we're going to continue. And not fit to eat. We're in verse 20. And the famine prevailed throughout the land, and all the inhabitants of Egypt came and cried before Pharaoh, for the famine was heavy upon them. And they said unto Pharaoh, give us food unto thy servants, and wherefore shall we die through hunger before thine eyes, even we and our little ones? Lord, we got to eat, man. Come on now. We done hired this guy. And Pharaoh answered them, saying, wherefore do you cry unto me? Did not Joseph command that the corn should be laid up during the 7 years of plenty for the years of famine? Now, Pharaoh was slick now, but Joseph was led by the Most High. And wherefore did you not hearken to his voice? And the people of Egypt answered the king, and saying, as thy soul liveth, our king, thy servants have done all that Joseph ordered. For thy servants also gathered in all the produce in their fields during the 7 years of plenty, and laid it in the stores unto this day. And when the famine prevailed over thy servants, we opened our stores, and behold, our produce was filled with vermin that was not fit for food. In other words, they didn't know how to store food. There are many other ways of storing food and preserving it, but they didn't know how to do it. Now, when the king heard that all had befallen the inhabitants of Egypt, the king was greatly afraid on account of the famine, and he was much terrified. And the king answered the people of Egypt, saying, since all this has happened to you, go to Joseph to do whatever he shall say unto you. Transgress not his commands. In other words, he said, that's my boy. You can't do that. And all the people of Egypt went forth and came unto Joseph and said unto him, give unto us food, wherefore we shall die before thee through hunger. And we gathered in our produce during the 7 years as thou commanded, and we put it in store, and thus it has befallen us. And when Joseph heard all the words of the people of Egypt and what had befallen them, Joseph opened all the stores of produce, and he sold it to the people of Egypt. Now he's turning a profit. So you got to realize, why are food prices going up? Why are farmers are pushed to abandon their farms? Even some are getting to the point where the consumer can trying to get legislation to try to, from so I hear, allegedly, to get gardens banned. because they said it renders to the greenhouse effect. That's a bunch of crock. People have been growing gardens for thousands and thousands of years, and this is just a ploy to try to corner or get a monopoly and have people depending on corporations and the government who would regulate and rule these corporations. You have to find out, where are we headed? You should always ask that when you see the news. Where are we headed? Where they're trying to go? What are they probing? It's just like a thief. He'll probe your house. He'll go around your house a lot. A thief will look at your house and see how he can get in, how your neighbors are, what time they leave, and all this other stuff. And these are just petty thieves. Do you have bars? Do you have an alarm? All these things would happen. And then eventually he sees an opening where he could, a certain time frame and an opening that he can get in there, and he steals. But then if he sees it's too hard and you got everything battened down and you have every precaution, he's going to think twice, maybe 10 times before he even try it. And the same thing with our food. We must always begin to see that there's going to come a time of little, and things are going to get bad. I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's just who sees it. And here you all twerking, and some of you study getting money and gold and cars. That's not going to save you in the time to come. It's not going to save you. I'm not talking about going up to heaven. I'm talking about you being healthy here on earth and not getting your head blowed off for trying to go in somebody else's yard or on their farm to steal food because you were so ignorant and you were so getting your little men thing on, or your little twitchy body on, and men, you trying to service these here, and then all of a sudden, no grocery stores, diminishing, no clothing stores, no nothing. You just lost. You forgot, I can grow. I can get animals, chickens. You can order chicken eggs now. But the cities have got it where people are so, not people in general, but there are some who just don't care. They would allow their chickens to run the place. And so they have to put up ordinances that you can't have chickens running around, or goats and all this in the cities or on the outskirts of the cities within so many miles. And the famine prevailed throughout the land, and the famine was in all countries, but in the land of Egypt there was produce for sale. And all the inhabitants of Egypt came unto Joseph to buy corn, for the famine prevailed over them, and all their corn was spoiled. And Joseph daily sold it to all the people of Egypt. Now this is God setting it up. You see it. God setting it all up. Yes, the training of the children of Jacob. He has to do it. Now, with that, we're going to say peace.
Walk with me.